Hello and welcome back to another episode of PeakAlpha Strobe Light Series, where we celebrate our clients. Today's guest is somebody who's very well known in the corporate circles because she celebrates and enables diversity at the workplace. Even in her personal capacity, she's always striving to make the world a more equal and an equitable place. Let's go and say hello to Vieshaka Dutta, who is a Senior Director, Diversity, Equity and Inclusion for India and APAC for Publicis Sapient. Hello Vieshaka, it's a pleasure to have you on our show.
I'm really thankful, really looking forward to this conversation.
Thank you. But first, before I go ahead, I want to congratulate you on this award that you've just won as one of the top 5 DE&I champions of India. It was given to you by Her Key, right? So tell us what the award means for you.
Well, it was really a pleasure to accept it, especially in in the company of all my colleagues. I think they were cheering. I was very happy because I'm receiving this on behalf of a lot of people who've put in a lot of effort to create inclusive, happy spaces at work where everyone can thrive, not just come to work, but give in their best, be themselves, and also help us improve the work environment continually. So I was really happy to be in that space and, cheering for all the work that's happened maybe over the last 2 decades in this space, frankly.
Yeah. So tell us, also for our audience, what DE&I mean?
So this is an entire effort of change management or culture evolution in an organization where we look at ensuring that we are bringing in diverse set of people at work. What it does is it adds a diverse set of ideas, ways of thinking, ways of speaking, ways of learning, and doing things in many, many different ways. And it has to be done intentionally because then you have to look at what are the diverse people or backgrounds available in society,
right,
where the workplace exists, and then you intentionally bring them in. Equity is really creating a platform where everyone can play the game in the same manner, right? So people come from different backgrounds, which includes their family, their culture, belief, value, education, privileges, not having those privileges. And yet, when they come to work, what makes them equal, right?
Correct.
That is set up by equitable systems. So if people have been in a traditionally disadvantaged spaces,
yes,
and that in India can mean with gender, women, trans people, non-gender binary people, different sexual orientation, different skin color, races, ethnicities, different abilities, which means if you have a disability, you are neurodivergent, lots of different cognitive, physical, visible, invisible disabilities or not.
Yeah.
How do you ensure that they are truly having a similar experience at work and they are actually able to bring themselves wholly, talk about what they're truly feeling so that they can give in their best. And inclusion really is creating that environment continually where everyone can belong.
Yeah. And we never heard of this a few years ago, right? I mean, now the conversations, there is a buzz around this. I'm sure companies had this as a policy, but tell us, how is India adopting these DE&I policies?
So see, think of many, many years back, you would have thought of something called employee welfare.
Correct.
Right? And then we started thinking of, okay, how do we build cultures? How do we bring in leadership? And what do we want this company to mean? Right? How does it differentiate, etc.? It's all of this put together that started, seeds of these movement. And thankfully, because of different people movements across the globe, it's got the attention and importance that it does. Because if you want a business to be sustainable, right, in the long term, you want people to grow, you will need the best of minds to work together at it.
Right.
So how will you keep it sustainable? Because today somebody is happy with some things. If they're not happy with some things, how will you know? Right? So getting the right talent, bringing in the right products, bringing in the right services at the right time and price point. This is why organizations are focusing on it, because this is now a differentiator. So if you look at a lot of your, the data, some years back, we read that 75% of Gen Zs, which are, of course, the the employee of the future.
Correct.
They select organizations looking at how inclusive they are. So if you are not being inclusive, and it can be such a broad, different things that can mean different, have
people.
different importance for people.
Right.
Then you may not be attracting the right, future talent, right? So if you're not going to focus on it, then this is not going to be sustainable for your business, right?
Yeah.
So this is why smarter businesses are focusing on it. How are they adopting policies? I think the first thing is to start being aware. So if you're an initiator in that space, this next is to be compliant, because that's a huge legal risk that you hold. Every legislation that in India or in different geographies where your business are, if your business doesn't understand and prepare, right, to comply with them, then it's a huge risk. Plus your own, again, the talent understands that this is not happening.
Yeah.
Right? Having said that, I think the heartwarming thing is, in India workplaces, people are going beyond just legislation.
How do we see DE&I policies being used in a workplace? Like if I walked into Publicis Sapient, how would I see this being executed?
So in our organization, we have gender agnostic benefits. So in fact, while the posh compliance means that this is mainly legally vetted for women, we have different ways and mechanisms of ensuring that sexual harassment, workplace grievances is something that everybody can access, and it's taken as seriously, right? Looking at the LGBTQ and other people, the same-sex benefits and live-in partner benefits, right, are equally, available to everyone. We also actually have one of the not so common benefits, which is very important in, I think, today's time, which is to have support and benefit for people with HIV positive status, right? Including the PrEP medication and stuff, right? And there's so little awareness. But then I'm very sure that you and I had heard about HIV and AIDS when we were growing up, when we were children.
Absolutely.
But why aren't the workplaces doing more, right? So it's very heartwarming that some of the workplaces don't, limit themselves to just compliance, but go beyond, right? To have, let's say, different elder care benefits in the kitty of bouquets that you offer to your employees. I think those are also going to be game changers and things of the future that will define how businesses and talent align to each other.
So Vieshaka, what is it that drove you to pick up something like DE&I in your practice at work?
Well, it was an evolution of a lot of different things, and I'm smiling because it's very personal and it's also professional. So I was brought up in a very, now I call it the feminist Bengali family. I was the older child in the family. So my brother, who's younger, actually grew up in my shadows. I never knew what discrimination was till a few years later. So I get married and then I realized that there is a completely different set of expectations on who you are, how you behave, as a wife versus how I was as a daughter. And then in a few years' time, I used to head talent acquisition in an organization where I am recruiting for a senior position. And I have these two leaders, and they're fairly awesome people. They're my friends, leaders that I am looking for, key positions in their team. And I give one of them two different resumes of women. Now, these women are near their 30s. And this gentleman says that, listen, this is exactly, are they married? So I said no. And then they said, this is exactly the marriageable age. And in some time, they'll want to have children. There'll be no stability. So I'm sorry, but I don't really want to consider this because I want this person to carry on for quite some time. It's a very important portfolio. And I'm actually taken aback because I am around that age. I did not expect this from this person. And I take those resumes back and they're fairly great resumes. And then there is another leader, and this person came from the Northeast, incidentally, has a very similar role in his team in business. And he's asking me for profiles. And I said, see, I have these two great profiles, but These are women around this age. And I said this because I was wondering if he will have the same issue and I have to learn certain ropes of the trade. And he says, yeah, sure, why not? What should be an issue? And I gave them the profile. So the story goes like that he recruited these two women, both the women in the two positions he have, and the other gentleman recruited two men, and fairly qualified, great people. These women actually stayed for the organization 10 years and beyond. Fortunately or unfortunately, they did not get married or have children. And the men in the organization actually quit after some time. And while I was doing really well in this organization, I felt like I did not want to have a child when I'm in this organization because, there will be jokes in these sales teams about how special status is being given in men. All the money that we are getting through revenue is going in some of these benefits that we are giving to women, etc. And I did not want to be a part of these jokes at all, ever. And I happened to join an organization which a friend of mine had referred to, and he said, this is women-friendly organization. And at that point of time, I did not know what a women-friendly organization meant.
Yeah.
Never thought of it, right? I actually also was a part of different culture change and leadership development work and teaming work. And then I happened to get into a very large organization. I was carrying my child in a few months after I joined them. I was also wondering how my boss will think about it because I had just joined and now I'll go for maternity leave, etc. But I have to tell you, some of my memories from that organization is I would see a lot of women, pregnant women carrying children in that organization. I would meet them in lifts and different teams, etc. So in my own team, actually, 3 of us were going through pregnancy at the same time, me and 2 of my reporting team members. And my boss did not flinch, right? She said, I mean, that's how it will be done. We'll have to figure some way out, right? And I realized what a woman-friendly organization would look like, right? Then I had, work from home, and I would alter between, working from home, managing work. I changed the work location when my son was growing, and there were some things that I felt that I wanted to be home just to see through and more. So these are some things that have stayed with me. If you ask me, many years after, when I was having very difficult time in my marriage, in my last marriage, I also happened to meet LGBTQ advocacy firm where there were queer people and allies. And it was a whole new world. And I was wondering why we had not learned about it in school, right?
Yeah.
And the more I happened to meet these people, 2 things happened. One, I realized a lot of them had been dropped by their families. Like people were abandoned and they were just on their own or supporting each other. This was also a time when the legal status of being an LGBTQ person in India was questioned. So there was a huge support system, almost like an underground network. The other thing that I learned from them was to survive in this space, there's a concept called the chosen family. So now if your family is not with you, you choose friends and people who have supported you to be your chosen family. And as a single parent, because I filed for separation and I got divorced after, I actually adopted this concept in my life. In fact, that's how I started meeting more single parents, and I'm a part of a large social media group for mothers, single moms, single parents across India, LGBTQ advocacy. And frankly, as it started giving me strength, my family really has been an immense support for me, right? I never had any time where I was, not supported, be it for childcare, my own emotional support and more. And I feel like this was my payback time. And I would do anything to prevent one person at a time not having to go through any bullying and discrimination, because I felt this is silly.
Yeah.
Nobody should have to go through this. Like so many people in the world, we can support each other and make it slightly better if we can for everyone. So that really is my purpose.
Yeah.
So it remains my professional and my personal passion, frankly.
Yeah. But you wanted to become a forest ranger?
I studied environment and I love plants and trees. If you ask me, I couldn't be left alone in a jungle. Like I would love to survive. So yes, when I was studying environment in my graduation and my post-graduation, and was really, really keen on pursuing. I wanted to become a forest ranger. And then somebody convinced me that it's probably a romantic thought and I should not. And frankly, that itself is a stereotype.
Right, of course.
I really sometimes wish I had done that. I feel like I would have been even more anchored and stuff. So I still go back to the wildlife as much as I can. We enjoy it even as a family. But yes, that happened.
No, I don't think we have any regrets. We need more DE&I champions. So coming back to the workplace, what are the top 3 concerns that organizations are dealing with today under the DE&I umbrella?
I think the first is mindset. Like, we do enormous amount of sensitization, and yet you will find in different pockets, people will say things that are hurtful to others, right? People will think that, XYZ group or person from that background, etc., cannot do something that we need at work, right? So mindset of people disables, like people with disability. Mindset of people, does not enable a person from the LGBTQ background to truly thrive at a workplace. So mindset is very, very important, and also remains the front challenge, right? The second thing I would say is a gap of skilling. So even for organizations that are progressive and are looking at hiring people from diverse backgrounds, you will find that a lot of people don't invest enough in their careers. And maybe there is trauma in their past, maybe there's conditioning, maybe there is lack of support. At the same time, I feel that there is still a lot available to help skill you. It's like no dearth of information on the internet. And if everybody can be on Insta and YouTube to watch entertainment, I think everybody can also be on the same platforms to learn more. I think some of the prominent women leaders that you have today across the world and in India, they have all gone through very similar challenges. It could be elder care, child care, people having limiting belief on you. At the same time, what they did is they continually learned in some format or the other.
Yeah.
Right? If you've taken a break, they've done some freelancing. They've done some content writing. They've done something to keep in touch with the work world.
Yeah.
But if you've not done that, and even if you have a program, let's say for women career attorneys, you have a program like we have a trans hiring program, we have a LGBTQ hiring program, people with disability hiring program, lateral and campus. And sometimes when we feel the skill gap is so high, we even do internships, right? But for that, the group of people also then have to keep working harder towards skilling themselves. I think last but not the least, I think the societal mindset is changing way more slowly. Because it's the people at home who come at work. How you're adopting and also behaving in your personal life is a way of showing your championship, towards this agenda. And I think that is also something that we would love people to adopt. Like, not just do certain things at work, but also bring them home. Tell your families, children, everywhere else, if you have a Women's Day, don't just celebrate for yourself. Ensure that the house help you have, that person is a woman.
Yeah.
You are looking at supporting that person. I think these are 2-3 things that workplaces can truly benefit from.
When do you see things like, menstrual leave or mental health leave trickling down and becoming normal in workspaces?
I think it started becoming norm.
Okay.
Right? So, we in our organization in Publicis Sapient, we encourage people to talk if they are having a mental health challenge. It could be a breakdown. It could be like I have told people that I'm feeling burnout, right? Or I'm feeling overwhelmed, or I'm just not in a good space today. And I've said that to senior people who I work with. I've told my team to normalize that conversation, because who else will, right?
Yeah.
We encourage people to not say, I'm sick, and say like, there's fever or some physical ailment, but say that I'm going to take a sick leave for mental health, right? We encourage people to actually look after their well-being. So we have different challenges, steps challenge, yoga challenge, and other things, because the physical well-being is such a huge contributor to your mental well-being. And, if you're not feeling the wellness truly, then I don't think you can bring the best to work. So I think those things are happening. Period leave, menstrual leave is, I think the structure is not as common, but I know organizations which are, using different formats to support people. We have conversations around more hormonal health for women. Huge game changer. It was also very heartwarming that some men would attend these sessions, maybe because they have to take this information back to their family or learn more about their teams, and we encourage that.
Yeah. So, what are some of the favorable changes you've seen that have come into organizations, Vieshaka, over the years of, putting these policies into effect?
Oh, loads of them. Loads of favorable changes. I think lot more women at the workplace, lot more women leaders, lot of people talking about real experiences, right? Instead of giving gyan, which doesn't always resonate with people. We have men talking about mental health. We have women talking about how they navigated serious situations in life, which can seem mundane from a very business-like conversation at some point of time. If you ask me, when I started being a part of the LGBTQ advocacy movement, I think it was a dream to get more queer people out, visible in a workplace. Today, when I go to office, I see this actually happening in my workplace, right? We have trans people we took as interns, and we were not sure because we offered them an internship to see what would they do with this experience, and we have been hiring from these batches. So I have those people. I have the group of queer people in every different walk of, the organization, engineering teams, product teams, learning teams, HR teams. We have people with disabilities, frankly, teaching the organization back on how to be, what should be the reasonable accommodation, and in every format, right? Engineering, different roles. We had somebody from who's a person with visual impairment win the top award in the company, right? And it's a global award. And I just look forward to this because all of these are reverse mentoring opportunities for leaders and for us. Like I learned so much. So I think these are some amazing changes we've seen.
So this humanizing of workspaces means also that leadership changes, right? The way leaders deal with it. Like, for example, you said you encourage people to say, I'm not feeling in top mental health condition today, instead of telling you a lie and taking the day off.
Yeah.
And how do you as a leader respond to something like that?
I think these things may or may not be perfect. Like, of course, in some teams, you'll be like, absolutely. I was having a conversation with one of my colleagues in the morning, and there is somebody in her team who's the primary caregiver for a parent who has cancer. And it's been a couple of years the person has been off and on because of this situation.
Yeah.
And now that the person, continues to be in that situation, she was talking about how she's looking at offering a sabbatical, everything that we can. Does it not affect how the team works? It does.
Of course.
Yeah. Right? At the same time, does it also not give the benefit of having a higher empathy, understanding, normalizing these conversations so that everybody feels better? It also does. Like, you have a higher empathy quotient. Everybody in the team is infused with it, right? So in a lot of ways, how people react is a part of course, their evolution. So somebody might be taken aback by a certain request that has come. It could be, let's say, a woman talking to a male manager, saying that I need period leave or I'm having menopause issue. The person may absolutely have no idea.
Yeah.
And it continues with something as basic as going on maternity leave. When will the person come back, etc. But if people are putting in the effort to be authentic and say, okay, I don't know, maybe I should ask for help, or going with the fact that this is the right thing to do, let's all ask for help of how you do it, then I think we always find a way out. Like, I've navigated these situations many times as a leader. There are people who are continuously looking at, different flexibilities or accommodation. And sometimes it's been easy because, maybe it's not a peak time. We've all stretched and we've been okay. We've coached people to stretch for other people, and that's fine. Sometimes it's been very stressful on me because then, we are bearing a lot of the load.
Correct.
And then I've gone back to the team and said, I don't know how to do this for much longer, so let's find a solution together. Right? So there are different ways of navigating, and I think you can't prescribe But what you could do is to tell leaders and managers and peers, right, even team members, to be truly authentic, vulnerable, and take each of these as opportunities to learn.
Right.
Right. And then you'll find some way out.
True. Yeah. And beyond the workspace, also, you are a huge and a strident champion of financial independence with all the groups that you work with. And I think that's where we speak the same language. You've also been a client of PeakAlpha's for a long time. So how did you find us, and why is financial independence so important for you?
See, I found PeakAlpha's founder, Priya, on a women's support group. It was a professional women's support group. And I was following it. This was a time when I realized that I needed to have a support system of my own and not lean on my ex-husband, because a lot of married women, their main hangout groups and friends are all your husband's friends.
Right.
And if something is not going well in that partnership, you can feel truly lonely in many ways. And right, like socially,
yeah,
of course, emotionally, and then the threat comes financially, right? And this is apart from your wellness and if you have children, then child care, etc. Right? So this was why I was on a support group, and I happened to interact with Priya, read her post. PeakAlpha, of course, is not the only financial firm that I've worked with when I started working on sharing this with larger groups. At the same time, of course, PeakAlpha remains that one organization is with a differentiator that they truly go out of their space to make space and give advice on being financially free for people who don't come with a lot of money.
Yeah.
Right. So I know so many different support initiatives that the organization and each one of the people who work in this organization, I think, bring that sensitivity and empathy for people who are going through different situations in life. I personally would not be here speaking about these things with the confidence I do and more if I did not have financial freedom. Right. And, just like any other women my age at, 10 years back, 15 years back, when I was realizing this is not working out, there was so much of fear because I had not run a house on my own. Right? So how will it all work out? Like, even when I would think that, okay, my colleagues who are men, they run their own family and manage the finances. If you've not done it, you don't get any confidence. But when I started speaking to Priya about myself, I have to tell you this, and this is so stark because the day I called her and I said that I'm going to file for separation and file for divorce in court, she said, my goal is now to make you financially independent. And I cannot forget that. And this is exactly how I feel. I feel empowered. I feel like, okay, I'll get by, right? Yeah. And I can pursue different things. And I am more clear about what do I want in life. Like, for example, my mother probably doesn't understand why I travel and I spend on travel.
Yeah.
As a single parent, etc., where I should probably only be saving. But that is what fuels me.
Right.
And gives me so much of joy, gives me the bonding I need with my child and my friends and, my own support system. And that became clearer because I could afford to do this at some point of time, right? And I think that is what PeakAlpha has done for me. I also, when I was going through some of these situations myself, I realized what financial empowerment can do for you, right? So if you ask me, diversity at the workplace is about giving people jobs, because a lot of us have our own standing in life today because of the jobs and the earning we have, right? So that's what I do at work, right? In the personal life, however, how you manage the money that you have and how you manage your finances is what will empower you in your personal life. And that is why I keep talking about it. That's why, when I talk to different people, everything that I have learned about, do you have a personal insurance? Yeah. Or are you only happy with your office insurance? What's the difference? Right? How has it affected people in the past? If you're feeling that, oh my God, I've been earning for so long, but I don't have money for things I really want in life. It could be travel, it could be anything, you're buying a house or something. How do you really manage it? And that's why I would send people to financial advice and say, absolutely look at your portfolio, get the help you want. And that's really the story behind my commitment to making people more financially aware
Yeah.
and how to manage their wealth. And that's my connection to Peak Alpha.
Yeah, thank you for saying this, because I know you do a lot of work for single parents, single moms. You have this group. You also work with the LGBTQI plus community. So, but thank you for everything that you do, and also for passing on the lessons. I think this is very important, because once you learn something, it's important to share what you know with people who could use this
Yeah.
help. Yeah. And so thank you again, Vieshaka, for coming on the show and for all that you do. And wish you success in all your different roles.
Thank you. I hope we will keep amplifying this work. I think there's so many people who can benefit from it. And I'll be happy to talk to people if they need more information or support on this.
Yeah, thank you. As is clear from Vieshaka's conversation, our workplaces are changing. COVID brought a seismic shift in the way we work. By 2027, India is poised to become one of the top 3 economies of the world. And driving this growth is our large and aspirational population of very young people. Managing this well is going to be critical for our success. And diversity, equity, and inclusion practices and policies are going to make our workplaces more empathetic and inclusive, which is what the youth are asking for. We will leave you with Vieshaka Dutta's social media handles so you can follow her and stay up to date with DE&I practices and policies. We will also leave you with our social media handles. Please follow us, and we'd love to hear from you about your feedback on our show. Goodbye for now, and see you soon.